Be sure to check out this month's podcast episode where I feature guest Simon Frederick. And one of the things that we talked about during our conversation was the significance of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop's impact, not only on Grenada, but on folks worldwide in terms of what his legacy really means. If you're unfamiliar, October marks the anniversary of the 1983 U.S. invasion of Grenada and the assassination of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and other key leaders of his cabinet. And these individuals dared to reimagine freedom for a small Black Caribbean nation of less than 100,000 people. If you're unfamiliar, Bishop's government was a government that at the time built schools and improved healthcare, empowered workers. It was a true people's revolution that was rooted in self-determination. But that vision threatened U.S. interests in the region. To the U.S., Grenada was a socialist-leaning, independent Black nation that was also allied with Cuba, and at the time was totally unacceptable during the Cold War. Grenada's airport, which is currently named the Maurice Bishop International Airport, was built with Cuban support, and it was framed as a Soviet foothold, right, in the media. And so for the mere fact of the relationship that Maurice Bishop and the cabinet was developing with Castro at the time, for President Reagan in the United States, he just needed that as an excuse to assert control over the Caribbean, America's so-called backyard. Prime Minister Maurice Bishop's dream wasn't about ideology. It was about sovereignty, proving that even the smallest nation could stand tall, free from colonial powers. His legacy reminds Black societies worldwide that liberation begins where we dare to imagine ourselves as more than enough, more than capable, united, and really unafraid to stand up to these giants, so to speak. And I think that's why, in many ways, the U.S.'s current efforts to surveil and control the Caribbean by requesting occupation of the Maurice Bishop International Airport for military operations is highly problematic because it is antithetical to the core of what Bishop stood for. Building the airport, according to Maurice Bishop and his government at the time, was an important strategy to be able to establish Grenada as an entity that can compete in the global market, to engage in free commerce and free trade with not just the region, but across the world. And so then for the United States to then turn back now in 2025 to turn this entity, this symbolic airport for civilian economic infrastructure into a strategic military asset for themselves, a foreign power at that, has practical implications, not just for places like Grenada, but in many ways for Black societies globally. But rest assured, as Prime Minister Maurice Bishop once said, "Forward ever, backward never." His legacy and words will forever ring true. We just have to remember them. Enjoy the episode, and thank you.